Indira Gandhi was the political leader. She was this charismatic personality who had extraordinary relationship with the people of India. But the ideological compass, the ideological beacon, the moral compass of Indira Gandhi was Haksar. P.N. Haksar was arguably the most powerful civil servant India has had in the last 70 years. He was a pivotal figure, he was a decisive figure between 1967 and 1973 particularly. He had influence later, but his years of power with Indira Gandhi was between 67 and 73. Indira Gandhi matured. She got the confidence, the nationalization of banks, the abolition of princely privileges, the extraordinary victory in the midterm poll in March of 1971, the Garibi Hatao, which electrified the country, and of course the war with Pakistan, the creation of Bangladesh. I think he helped her realize who she was. Whether it is the nationalization of banks, whether it's the ideological split in the Congress party, whether it's the war with Pakistan, the creation of Bangladesh, the cutting to size of President Nixon and Henry Kissinger, the Indo-Soviet Treaty of 1971, the Simla Agreement of 72, and the Delhi Agreement of 73. These are all magnificent achievements of Indira Gandhi, the political leader, that were made possible by Mr. Haksar functioning as her alter ego. The Indo-Soviet Treaty, which was a very important milestone in which Mr. Haksar sold it to Mrs. Gandhi after Kissinger's air dash to China from Rawalpindi in July of 1971. So there are, this opening up of India to Iran, for example, when Iran was cozying up to Pakistan, opening up to Iran, the establishment of a relationship special relationship with France. Mr. Haksar was deeply suspicious of the US. He was deeply suspicious of the US ruling establishment because, he had cut his diplomatic teeth in the 50s when John Foster Dulles was the Secretary of State. Mrs. Gandhi, after 1980, changes her approach to the US. She becomes a little more pragmatic, she becomes a little more, friendly to the US. Mr. Reagan and she strike up a chemistry. There were economic agreements, there were agreements on high technology. But Mr. Haksar never compromised with his feeling. He never felt that this was the right route to take. He was critical of her to her face. He would tell her where she was going wrong. He would write to her where she is going wrong. So there was no hypocrisy of the man. Estrangement between Indira Gandhi and Haksar was entirely because of the Sanjay Gandhi episode. I think from December 1968 onwards, the Maruti shadow looms large in the Haksar-Indira Gandhi relationship. Mr. Haksar had two objections to the Maruti project of Sanjay Gandhi. First, he was opposed to a passenger car project per se. He said that India must invest in public transport. He had a second objection, which is that a Prime Minister's son living in the Prime Minister's house cannot be doing this type of a business venture. All biographers of Indira Gandhi have said that Indira Gandhi got rid of Mr. Haksar. That's not true. The record shows that Mr. Haksar saw the writing on the wall and decided to voluntarily and gracefully exit. And Mrs. Gandhi perhaps thought that, it's better that he is not around her. She uses him as a special envoy to Iran. She uses him as a special envoy to Pakistan and Bangladesh. She uses him as a special envoy to France. And finally, in January of 1975, she brings him back as deputy chairman of the Planning Commission. She would talk to him. She would consult him on matters relating to Punjab, Jammu and Kashmir, China.